inspired me to participate in the youth essay competition was just an interest in learning more about social and political issues that affect like my home country of India. I grew up in the United States, so I never got the opportunity to learn about like the different types of lifestyles that people experience when growing up in India. And I've really been thinking about that this year, as I've been calling my grandparents and talking more to my family. And so when I saw this on the social media of the India Philanthropy Alliance, I really thought it would be a good opportunity to learn more about like the different perspectives of people living in India. That was definitely my first inspiration for doing the essay. I really just thought it'd be a good learning opportunity. The second was that literacy has always been a issue very close to me. I've always been very passionate about reading, literature, like the study of words. And so essay competitions are just like right in that alley. So I've been drawn to a lot of different essay competitions, but this one specifically stood out to me because it not only had me write an essay, but I could also explore the issue of illiteracy and, the complex facets of literacy as like a subject in and of itself. So I got to write, which was one of my passions, but I also got to learn more about like literacy as a subject. So kind of like that duality in the things I love was another reason I decided to write for this competition. And I learned a lot as I, pursued the research, and I think it was a great opportunity. I'd highly recommend it to anyone, no matter like your interest level. You'll learn something from this competition. The first thing I learned was what it looks like and what aspects of a illiterate lifestyle look like specifically. And what I mean by that is we really hear this word like illiteracy thrown around in society, especially amongst individuals who are literate, but it's really hard to like actually break down what that looks like until you like research it and like learn the stories of people who've experienced illiteracy firsthand. So like me myself, like the area I grew up in, there's so many books, there's libraries, resources everywhere. But through this competition, I got to learn more about like, the first-hand experience of someone who hasn't grown up with the same resources I was afforded when I grew up. Like without access to books, without access to schooling, without access to educational materials, you don't learn how to like look at a paper and understand the text. And without that skill, you are set back in life in so many ways: personal health, financial literacy, reading a prescription on a bottle, like using Google Maps. All of these like small things that we do every single day are contingent on this one skill of literacy. And it is so immensely hard to like put that into perspective until you like learn the story of someone who's had to battle that. And so what I wanted to do with this essay was like really learn about that and like understand this so it could put me in the shoes of someone else and also, force me to empathize with them so I could, understand this issue more. So what I found myself learning as I pursued the research was, these aspects of literacy growing up that, there are people forced in this scenario where they are physically unable to read or get the ability to read. And I really was drawn into this area because I realized that putting books in the hands of someone else is like the key to them being able to afford like a successful lifestyle in the future. So that's definitely the biggest thing was like the personal experience of illiteracy. The second thing was the correlation between menstrual inequity and like future educational outcomes, because we often don't really think of like our health, especially as women, affecting our future educational status or like the number of dollars we make in the future. But as I pursued this competition, like specifically researching the aspects of illiteracy, I really didn't know that menstrual inequity was a huge reason that girls drop out of school. I wasn't aware that the lack of sanitation facilities in in educational institutions was a reason that girls dropped out of school. A lack of access to like period products, tampons, and pads was a reason that girls dropped out of school. And just being able to like realize this, first it made me very grateful that schools where I am have very good sanitation facilities and that I'm able to have these resources and girls around me can have these resources. But it also really made me want to donate and like give back, because there really shouldn't be a this shouldn't be the reason that girls aren't in school. I think the statistic that I was looking into was that 23 million girls drop out of school in India every year because of menstrual inequity. And that is completely insane to me. That's like two times the population of Ohio. So learning that was probably the biggest takeaway I had from this research because it like has forced me to and inspired me to want to contribute in so many ways possible. Because I believe, all girls deserve access to an education, and our health, something that we can't even control, should not be the reason that we're not able to pursue an education. So definitely think the menstrual inequity was the most striking out of all of the things that I discovered, because of the upbringing I've received, and also because of how passionate I am about education. Um, there are so many barriers to education, but I think that some of them are understandable to an extent, right? Like a country affected by war, education is at the top priority. Poverty is so institutional, but food on the table is more important than education at a certain level. But the barrier that is keeping kids from school should not be access to period products, or like the ability to feel comfortable using the restroom. And so it was definitely striking, and it was appalling to learn that this was a reason women are not in school. But it was also inspiring, kind of in that same aspect, to learn of what organizations are doing to address this problem. Like there is one, it's a health organization. What they're doing is offering like period products that we can buy, and then for every purchase that is made by like someone in the United States or abroad, they'll give a free like period product to a girl living in India, and then like it's free of charge, so they don't have to do anything in return. And so by feeling that comfort in like having this material, and this is like a long lasting product, they're more motivated to be able to go and do whatever they need to do, go to school, go to the store, like play with their friends. And I was just really inspired by that, because it gives me a lot of hope that there is organizations on the ground doing work. So I really liked to hear about that. And it's something that I hadn't heard about before, like the buy one and give one approach. Um, Another thing that I learned that was a little bit more surprising was like that child marriage, amongst like girls in India, is still such a huge problem today. I have always heard about it being a big problem in many rural communities, but I didn't realize that it was still as much of a problem in our modern society, because many like smaller rural and tribal communities haven't fully like modernized yet, which is like understandable, but that also means they're like adhering to like older practices, and some of those involve child marriage. And it was kind of saddening to hear about this and learn about it, but learning that the rates have dropped was definitely also a positive aspect of compiling the research. So those are probably the most like shocking aspects of this problem that I learned about as I pursued the competition. I think the first way that it'll affect me in terms of like my thoughts is I've become a lot more grateful for the things that are in my life, knowing what it's like for people who are the same age as me, just living in a different country. And I try to take this gratitude with me wherever I go, whether it's like as I tutor some youth in my community, or just like thinking about my family and other aspects of my life. Understanding the challenges faced by people who aren't able to control like the life they're going into has made me feel a lot more blessed about what's going on in my own world. That's the first way I think this competition has definitely like changed my perspective. In terms of my actions, I work very heavily in the field of youth literacy, specifically with donations of books and like educational material to like under-resourced youth living in the United States through my nonprofit Young Learners Foundation. And I've always wanted to create like a kind of distinct initiative through my organization where we exclusively focus on girls' literacy. And so this has really further deepened my aspiration to pursue that initiative. And what that would look like is really getting more books into the hands of girls, and finding encouraging, personal, like motivating ways to make young girls want to read and like want to get that education, and be like really willing to do what it takes to put themselves in school, because that's really the key for them pursuing their dreams, whether that be like being a doctor, being a teacher, being a lawyer. It starts with an education, and that starts with books. So this competition and like learning about what the struggles are of youth abroad, especially young girls, has made me want to give back and contribute to this cause directly.